The summer Hikaru died finally reached its ending. Most people expected a straight-up supernatural showdown, something loud and dramatic that would answer every mystery about the village. But instead, what we actually got was something much quieter, much more personal. The finale stripped away the myths and legends we were clinging to and focused entirely on the two main characters, Hikaru and Yoshiki, finally confronting their feelings for each other. And on top of that, the show revealed something shocking, that there has never actually been a Nonuki-sama in the village at all. That twist left fans with more questions than answers. But don't worry, because in this video, I'm going to break everything down step by step and explain what it all means. So, let's begin. In the final episode, Hikaru makes a difficult decision. He chooses to leave Yoshiki and return to the mountains because he doesn't want to hurt anyone else or bring more danger to the village. In earlier episodes, conflicts with Hikaru's nature often escalated into violence. But this time, instead of lashing out, he takes a different path. He gives Yoshiki a real, heartfelt goodbye. And for the first time, Hikaru finally says it out loud. He confesses that he loves Yoshiki. It's not a trick, not an imitation, but a completely honest moment. On the other side, Yoshiki has also grown. He admits that he loves Hikaru too, not just as a replacement for the childhood friend he lost, but as the person Hikaru has become. This is where the show's queer subtext becomes explicit. All along, their relationship has had this tension, and the finale doesn't dodge it, it confirms it. But this isn't just about romance. It's about the characters facing the parts of themselves they've been running from. Hikaru finally accepts that he isn't human, that he has caused pain, and that his existence has weight. Yoshiki, on the other hand, admits the truth he's been denying. His grief, his fear of letting go, and the fact that he's been clinging to the past instead of facing what's right in front of him. Yes, some fans were disappointed that the finale didn't give a neat explanation for the supernatural side of things. The mysteries of the village, the history of the so-called deity, or why everything started happening in the first place. Of course, the ending leaves us with a ton of new questions. And these are the ones most fans immediately thought of. Why doesn't Yoshiki want Hikaru, the monster, to go? Tanaka revealed that there has never been a Nonuki-sama in the village. Is that actually true? And if so, does that mean all the sacrifices made over the years were meaningless? If there's no Nonuki-sama, then why has there been such a sudden rise in impurities lately? Let's go through these one by one. Why doesn't Yoshiki want Hikaru, the monster, to go? The simplest answer is attachment. Yoshiki has been tied to Hikaru, or at least the image of Hikaru, for most of his life. Even though the being we see isn't the real Hikaru anymore, Yoshiki can't just switch off his feelings. Losing him would mean reliving the trauma of loss all over again. And here's where it gets deeper. Yoshiki doesn't just see Hikaru as a monster or an imitation. By the end, he acknowledges Hikaru as someone new, someone real in his own right. To Yoshiki, letting Hikaru leave isn't just about losing a friend, it's about finally facing emptiness, finally admitting that he'll never get the Hikaru he once knew back. And that kind of acceptance, as much as it's necessary, still hurts. So when Yoshiki tries to hold on, it's not because he's blind to the danger Hikaru represents. It's because his grief, his love, and his inability to fully let go make the thought of Hikaru disappearing unbearable. For him, it's another heartbreak he isn't sure he can survive. Nonuki-sama is not real. Now let's get into the big reveal. Tanaka says there's no such thing as Nonuki-sama, and that's true, at least not in the way the villagers believe. Nonuki-sama was never a literal god or mountain deity. Instead, it's a local legend built from fear and superstition. Whenever something unexplainable happened, disappearances, deaths, strange supernatural events, the villagers blamed it on Nonuki-sama. They told themselves it was a vengeful spirit of the mountain, taking people away when rituals weren't performed correctly. But the truth is much less clear. The being that took over Hikaru's body isn't Nonuki-sama at all. It's something else. An unidentified entity that happened to encounter Hikaru at the moment of his death. Out of curiosity, maybe even loneliness, it stepped into Hikaru's life, trying to live as him and experience what it means to be human. Here's the tragic part. The Indo family's sacrifices, carried out for generations, were basically meaningless. Long ago, the head of the Indo family made a desperate pact, offering lives in exchange for the resurrection of his wife. But it was a cruel trick. A third of the villagers died, and the resurrected wife came back only as a severed head, cursing the family for centuries. And yet the rituals continued. The family believed they were buying safety, but in reality, there was never a consistent deal with any deity. The periods of peace were just coincidence. The legend of Nonuki-sama was essentially a lie, or at best, a superstition built on half-truths and desperation. The Indo family's suffering, and the sacrifices of countless villagers, were all based on a misunderstanding of what the mountain truly is. If there's no Nonuki-sama, then why has there been such a sudden rise in impurities lately? That brings us to the impurities. What exactly are they? Think of impurities as supernatural pollution, distortions, corrupted presences, or negative energy spilling out from the mountain. They aren't a single creature, but rather the byproducts of imbalance between the human world and the supernatural one. Here's the key. The entity living as Hikaru has been acting like a barrier this whole time. By existing in the village, it contained and absorbed much of this corruption, preventing impurities from overwhelming everyone. But once Hikaru weakened, especially after giving part of himself to Yoshiki, he lost the strength to hold everything back. That's why impurities started multiplying. They weren't being contained anymore. Without that barrier, the village began to feel the full force of the supernatural chaos seeping out from the mountain. So no, it's not about Nonuki-sama being angry. It's about balance being lost and Hikaru's weakening presence tipping the scales. And that's where the story leaves us for now. A finale that trades easy answers for emotional truth while still leaving the supernatural side wide open for more exploration. The manga is still ongoing, and there's a lot more of this story left to tell. Plus, the anime is already scheduled for a second season. So if you felt unsatisfied with the mysteries left hanging, don't worry. This is just the beginning.